Welcome to Dirt Diaries, the podcast where the women of agriculture get real. From muddy boots to boardrooms, we're digging into the unfiltered stories of the FarmHers, ranchers, and every her shaping the future of ag. This isn't just shop talk, it's real talk. We're covering career paths, big wins, hard lessons, and everything in between. So whether you live it every day or you're just ag curious, pop in your earbuds and get ready. These are the raw, inspiring, and wildly relatable conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Let's dig in. Hey everyone, welcome back to Dirt Diaries. Today's episode is one of those feel good, laugh out loud, and maybe even get a little teary-eyed kind of conversations. I had the absolute pleasure of chatting with Kait Thornton, aka Apple Girl, a fourth-generation orchardist from Washington State who's quickly become one of the freshest voices in agriculture. Kait helps run her family's 440-acre apple and pear farm, and if you've ever seen one of her viral TikToks, well, then you already know she's bringing a whole new flavor to the world of farming. But this episode goes deeper than just apples and Instagram. Kait opens up about what it's really like to manage crews, deal with the pressure of a multi-generational business, and navigate the very real mental health challenges that come with life on the land. We also get into the power mentorship of women in ag and the sometimes overwhelming but beautiful responsibility of being the quote-unquote next generation. And don't worry, we still managed to squeeze in some fun, guilty pleasures, favorite apple varieties, and dream reality shows. It's all here. Kait's got this incredible ability to be both hilarious and heartfelt, and I can't wait for you guys to hear. So, let's get dirty with Kait. Welcome to the Dirt Diaries. Joining me now is Kait, and our whole team was talking about Apple Girl Kait on Instagram. You have such a huge following, so I'm just going to dig right in here on the Dirt Diaries and get to know you because this is the first time we're meeting, but I know you have just such a great presence. You're a fourth-generation farmer. Kind of dive in and just tell us the story about you and just how you kind of are keeping the tradition going and being a fourth-generation farmer.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm just kind of exploring as I go. I'm learning every day, but I started posting on social media when I was around 17 years old, and it was more like TikTok and stuff when that was coming out. And I just realized at the same time I was selling fruit around my community, and I was getting all these like one-on-one interactions with consumers and hearing their questions. And I just decided, you know what, I could have these conversations in an online space, and especially since I grew up with social media. And so I started having these conversations about things that would otherwise be overlooked by farmers. And actually just starting those conversations and getting people excited about fruit and understanding who and where their food comes from. And now it's grown into, I've got nearly 600,000 between TikTok and Instagram now. So
Wow, that's a lot. That's a huge online community that you have to kind of, I don't want to say keep up with, but obviously still educate and entertain and kind of tell about the agriculture community. Talk a little bit more, take us back a little bit on your family, their operation, what that looks like, and kind of what your role outside of social media, obviously, and educating on the platform you have. But just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have questions about what my role is on the farm because obviously I'm on social media, and that is actually how I make my full-time income. I do not make any money
Absolutely.
on the farm. Dad and I had that conversation when I graduated college. You know, he goes, I can't really afford another paycheck coming off the farm, but I am the succession plan. I will be taking over. So right now I'm able to live full-time on the farm, learning management skills. And I think that's the most important thing right now. Now, of course, I know how to do a bunch of things on the farm. I'm kind of, there's the jack of all trades. My middle name is Jill, so I call myself the Jill of all trades. So
Love
I
that.
can just hop in, do whatever needs to be done. But the most important thing is tree fruit. Every single apple or pear that you're seeing is picked by hand. So our main piece of equipment are people. And people come with their own personalities. They've got idiosyncrasies, and it's a huge vehicle in itself. And so managing a crew of 45 plus guys is quite a project. And so even this morning, Dad and I were chatting about things. We're planting a new block of sugar bee apples, and so we're fertilizing, and every like fertilizer is done by hand, and how to throttle, okay, how much fertilizer are you adding, and how to work with different personalities, and making sure you're getting the most out of your crew and that they're happy and that they actually understand everything. So bottom line, learning how to be a better manager, especially working with as many people as we do in our industry.
Yeah, managing people is challenging. People always say that, but obviously that, especially for you guys, the labor force is what makes your operation happen. And I think it's very interesting. Apple, I mean, tree fruit, I know, but I come from a Central Valley farm. We're almond farmers.
Okay.
But there's some apples around us, but not much. And I recently went on a FarmHer shoot and I learned about apples, but I didn't know much about apples. And I'm like, they're just north. I don't know why I haven't invested in, learning about them, but I find it a fascinating like I just find it fascinating and how, like you said, picking by hand. Did you always love growing up in this lifestyle, or when you went to college, were you like, I'm going into finance? I don't want anything to do with this.
No, okay. So growing up, I thought I wanted to be a physician's assistant, like middle school,
Okay.
whatever. And I grew up being in a community where it's very ag centric, but it was like the cool thing was to be a cattle rancher, and you got like the whole cowboy aesthetic and things like that. And I was like, well, I'm just like, we're just farmers. Like, there's nothing super special, especially when you are surrounded by orchards and everyone's orcharding and things, but
Yeah.
kind of getting out of that and doing a little bit of traveling and stuff. And when you tell people, yeah, my family grows apples and pears, just seeing people get like their eyes light up, they get excited about it. They have so many questions, especially when you're raising a product that is for fresh consumption. So we're literally picking the fruit that goes in the bin that ends up literally in someone else's hands, and they consume it fresh. And so just like seeing that kind of connection that we can have, I think I really started appreciating and getting more involved when I was about 15 years old. And that's when Dad just started really working with me. I had to kind of beg him because he's so busy all the time. I was like, Dad, can I go with you? Can you teach me this? And it takes a lot of patience on his end to
Yeah.
teach me things. Even now, he calls me his little pest because I want to learn everything. And it takes, he's on his 36th, 37th crop, and he's still learning some stuff, but it takes a long time to get all those variables down.
Do you have any siblings?
Yes, I have an older brother, an older sister, and a younger brother, but we all have
Okay.
vastly different interests. And, my younger brother, he's pursuing a career in baseball right now.
Okay.
But if that doesn't work out, he does have interest in the farm, but in a different way than I do.
Yeah. Okay, so take us back to with the social media thing, because I always find it fascinating. I think it's really, really cool how people were able to hone in on it, and whether it's promoting a product, promoting themselves, and really make it a career. When was that turning point for you? When did you realize, like, hey, this is a creative space I like, one, and two, I can really use and utilize, and three, I mean, make it my job?
Yeah, well, I think I discovered doing fruit sales. My dad told me because I'd come back from selling fruit and I'm meeting the public, and I would just be energized by people. And he's like, "You're really good at marketing, and you're really good at meeting the public." And he's like, "Not a lot of people." Now you're gonna find that like my dad is my mentor, and so it always goes back
I
to
like that. We'll dive into that a little more.
his opinions on things. But he was the one who urged me, like, "You're good at marketing." And I didn't even know what marketing was, but bottom line, I'm just good at communicating with people, taking fairly large concepts that can get very complex and breaking it down in simple, digestible videos and
Hmm.
be able to communicate certain messages to people. And so I think I really enjoyed that aspect of things. And then it just was a kind of a natural progression into social media. And, you only have a minute and a half, or it was a minute when I started to convey a message. And so working in that space, I just got better and better over time. But it was not an overnight success by any means.
Okay, interesting. Highs and lows of social media. What's kind of your thoughts on that?
Well, it does help that, like, first of all, I never run out of content. There's always something going on in the farming space. But I am also like using my voice a lot, and I'm having to articulate my words correctly. And I can get pretty hard on myself because I stumble over my words, or sometimes I'm just learning concepts and then regurgitating information. And so it can get, a little bit wearisome. But going through college was probably the hardest part because I had built a TikTok following of about 80,000 followers by the time I got to college.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
Well,
Or I think that's a lot. I know you have a lot more now, but that's a lot.
yeah, and so I was kind of like, well, do I do something with this? Do I keep it going? Now, I was going to school at Washington State University, and that was about a little over 4 hours away from my farm where there's apples, where my content is. And so I'd have to put in the effort. I was doing full-time college. I'd finish up my assignments, head back home for the weekend, get as much content as possible, then come back. I'd do my homework till midnight when all those, 11:59 due dates. And then from that point, I'd like edit till 2 in the morning, and then I'd start posting throughout the week. And so it was a grind. Like there was a lot of work behind the scenes. It was not just like I instantly had 100,000 followers.
Yeah. Tips and tricks for filming, because I'm sure you've kind of went through a roller coaster of, hey, this works, this doesn't, this is what I do. I mean, sorry, I think we just had some music play in the background. We've got, a lot going on here over in the Dirt Diaries. But yeah, talk about tips and tricks for filming your content and how you've kind of had to shift with algorithms and things like that.
Yeah, I've just I've stayed fairly true to who I am. Now I've been able to progress into the manner of like I can talk fairly fast, and then learning how to edit my videos so it keeps a pretty snappy cadence, because of course attention spans are very small these days. I think especially when you're talking about things like agriculture and farming, it's just making sure that you're actually believing in what you're talking about, and you're letting your passions show forth. Because if I'm talking about things that I'm not as passionate about, it's kind of apparent to my audience. Like I'm a very wear my heart on my sleeve type of person, and so I want to stick towards topics that I'm truly fascinated by or I truly understand, and so that becomes very apparent, regardless of what type of like filming like device that you're using. It's going to be the content and how you carry yourself and how your voice projects that's most important.
Yeah, that's interesting. What's your family's thoughts on, social media? Because people will say, oh, farmers and ranchers, which I think we've obviously grown immensely in this space too, of being great advocates for ourselves and our industry and for others in the industry. What's your family say?
My dad is super supportive. Like he'll even come in now and be like, hey, you should do a video on this. And he'll like tell me what's something that's going on, or, a story from when he was a young farmer or whatever. And people love that. My brother, he's 20 years old and he's on a baseball team. And so like all of his teammates are aware of my following. Yeah. And then there's like semi trucks with my face on them that like roll by. And so I think he gets a lot of grief for it. And then my older siblings, they're like millennial age, and they're kind of like, well, this is really cool. They're supportive, but they're not as tuned into it. They've got their own busy lives. So I've got supportive family at least. But we're all like have our own things going on and pretty independent. So they kind of just let me do my things and then give accolades when they see me doing something cool.
I think that's special. What do your friends say? Do you have a lot of friends that are like, wow? I mean, because again, like you said, growing up in this space where social media was already there and then being able to capitalize on it, are they surprised that you made it a career?
Yeah, like now, because I still live back in my hometown, Tonasket, and population 1,100. No stop.
Is it a very rural area?
Yes. No, like no stoplight. Nearest McDonald's is like half an hour away or whatever. So you kind of understand. But like people are like, so do you actually make money off of that? And I'm like, well, yeah, I wouldn't be doing it.
You're like, I do, yeah.
Now, I think it's like people are realizing it, and it's kind of cool to see around my community. I'm noticing more and more people, or especially like young women around, are starting to post on social media, which I think is great because, and I wouldn't say it's because of me, but I could help inspire that of being like, it's hard to put yourself out there, especially in a small community where everyone knows everyone. Like I remember in high school, people were like, who does she think she is? Whatever. And I just kept with it. But you just got to keep putting yourself out there. But what I love about rural communities, especially using social media to bring in income, is that like you're not just bringing in the same money and having that circulate over and over and over again. You're bringing in money from outside and letting that circulate and actually building into your economy. And a lot of women around here are like stay-at-home moms, and there's not a lot of ways that they can make an income, especially since there's pretty far commutes for a lot of jobs. So this is a way they can like share their message, which we have a cool way of living out here, and then monetize it.
Yeah, I think that's important. That's very interesting and a really good outlook, I would say, on all of that too. Um, if you were not doing social media, what would you be doing? And
Ugh.
not farming, because I know you're part of the farming, but say if you weren't a farmer and you weren't doing social media, what job do you think you'd have?
See, I'm 22, so I think about this all the time. I am firmly ensconced in this, like, the tree fruit industry, marketing, stuff like that. But I always have this kind of, I wish I wouldn't have had it figured out and then I could go do random jobs. Like, I would love to be like a bev cart girl at a golf course, and I would have loved to go up to Alaska and learn how to be like a fishing guide. Like, that would be a dream
That's
come
cool.
true. Or just like do anything. I got my degree in business, and
Okay.
so like any sort of business or working with people or, you know, communicating obviously is my favorite thing to do. And I love to be outdoors. So something in that space.
What do you think you'd want people to know about the farming community, not just where you grew up, but just as a whole, like what, the people are like in farming?
Ooh, that's a great question. Because you really bring in all sorts of personalities. Because I think people have their own sort of image of what a farmer
Mm-hmm.
is like, and usually it's an older guy like on a tractor, and he's like ardent conservative, like, you know, a little bit backwards or ever. And I think people need to realize, get to know your farmers, because these are some of the most like honestly brilliant people. They're excellent problem solvers. They're fairly open-minded because you're constantly working with different personalities and stuff, and these are the people that are tending the land, and they have been for generations, and they want to continue that land for the next generation and the generations after. And so it's like, I just want people to know that like we're not just, you know, stuck in the 1930s.
Yeah.
Agriculture is one of the most fast-paced industries. Um, there's a reason why there's so many people in the U.S. Department of Ag, because it is such a massive industry, and there's lots of exciting things that can be happening.
Great answer. I like that. That was cool. Okay. We're gonna play some games. We've got a cute little Dirt Diaries cards here, and just to have some fun, obviously. People could get on your social media to see your story, and we'll dive into your story a little bit more too, but just to have a little fun here on the podcast. So this is orchard origins.
Okay.
So let's dig in to the orchard upbringing that shaped you. What's something people don't realize about growing up around apples? And I know you said pears as well.
Mm. Well, okay, that can go a lot of different routes. I think one thing I like to share with people is they don't realize like how much work we put into our own roads. So like a lot of my videos will show I'm working on a dump truck, or, you know, hauling water and stuff, because we're either trying to keep dust down or we're trying to keep our roads smooth, because again, this is a product for fresh consumption, and apples and pears bruise very easily. So we have to pick them at the correct time, make sure our guys are trained on how to handle them so they're not bruised. And then we have to make sure that we have nice trailers that are air ride and they don't bounce that fruit around, and then make sure our roads are nice and even. So that's something that like people don't even really consider
I
as
wouldn't have thought of, yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that.
as a big part of tree fruit.
Yeah, I mean the bruising. Yeah, I mean that makes total sense. Um, a memory from the orchard that still makes you laugh.
Mhm. So I think a lot of farm kids can relate to this. So growing up on a farm, very dangerous, actually. There's a lot of, like, my dad would tell us horror stories of all these kids that got killed doing various things. And because it's like, you got to use the fear tactics to get something pounded into our heads. But I remember being like a kid and riding a four-wheeler, and I was just like going along, and we plant our orchards, or especially our apple orchards, on very steep hills and stuff. And I was just kind of
Is that just the terrain you guys are in, or is there a reason for that? Or
apples love like steep ground, and they
oh,
like a little bit sandier soil. So they like a little bit of a struggle. And you also get nice microclimates and drafts through there. And a lot of our terrain is like sloping, kind of
okay,
vineyard style
that's
landscape.
cool.
but there's a lot of side hills and stuff, and it's dangerous on a four-wheeler. So I remember my dad like barreling after me and like chewing my butt. But like now I think about it, it's like he cared about me and wanted to make sure I was all right. But I still kind of giggle like every time I go down that area because now I'm much bigger and it's like I can use my weight as leverage.
Like
And so
I could do this a lot better, I promise.
yeah, but I'm just imagining little me. But there's like a lot of scenarios like that where it makes me chuckle, but I also appreciate, and it's like near and dear to my heart.
Yeah. I love that. Hardest job that you've ever had to do in the apple or pear business?
Hmm. Probably hauling fruit. Like during harvest, I'll sometimes help like take down loads, and I'm not like in the big semis usually. I mean, I am, but not like pulling doubles. I usually am just like in a flat deck or whatever, which is still enough of a chore for me because it's like
Yeah.
you get the fruit loaded up and then it's heavy, and then I have to make sure like I'm throwing straps, which is like also a chore for me. You have to get like used to it again every season. So throwing straps, which I'm like a fairly little chick and it's not always easy. So got to make sure I get my leverage, tie down the straps. Then you're driving an older rig and you got to pull over several times, make sure slow traffic isn't stuck behind you, getting road rage. And then like shifting through the gears and stuff. Every rig's a bit different. Every transmission's a bit different. They've all got their idiosyncrasies. Finding the place, working with the forklift drivers, make sure you're in the right spot to get fruit unloaded. And then like usually you're loading empty bins back on to take back so you can get them filled up again.
Gosh.
And throwing straps, and those are even taller because they're not heavy, they're empty bins, and so it's like a higher threshold to throw a strap over. So that can get pretty wearisome, especially in early harvest where it's really hot out still. So I've definitely said a few cuss words and sweated a lot.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Roasting.
It's okay.
Yeah.
What are the months of harvesting apples? When do you guys harvest?
So we grow pears and apples. So
Oh,
we start mid-August with pears and then and it's like we're splitting our crews between apples and pears. And then you're always watching, like you have to do starch tests and sugar tests to make sure you're getting that maturity correct when you're picking that fruit. And we'll go from mid-August all the way to early November, or usually like first couple snowfalls.
Okay. So that's a good chunk of the
Oh yeah,
fall.
everyone's so cranky by the end of harvest.
Yeah. Christmas time's like, meh.
Yeah,
Thank God the holidays are here, I guess, right?
Yeah, we're catching our breath around Thanksgiving.
Ugh. Life lessons learned from the orchard that applies to just your storytelling today.
I think there's a lot of things. I mean, I think a lot of people perceive my videos as like, oh, she just has like this very sunshine and rainbows life. Because I try to go positive foot forward with a lot of things, but it's not easy. Like my mom left when I was 15 because of the stress of this industry, and my dad was an alcoholic, and those are very real things. I mean, this month is mental health awareness, and farmers have some of the highest rates of suicide.
And people don't talk about that, but I will say people in your field have done a fantastic job just kind of bringing that to light. And making that known. And so kudos to you, because I just think it's in rural areas too. I mean, just the loneliness and just the harshness of the job itself. So yeah, that is a challenging thing.
Yeah, especially because, okay, and the general consumer would think of that as, well, farming's stressful because of the uncertainty with working with Mother Nature and stuff, which absolutely, and that is stressful. I mean, the amount of like the pit of my stomach when you got a hailstorm for 5 to 10 minutes and how much that can affect a crop. But people don't realize the immense amount of financial strain it is. It feels like you're playing with monopoly money a lot of times. You put $4 million into a crop, but you're hoping for just, 4.2 million. And that goes, I mean, it just is a hard concept for a general consumer to understand. And so I try to tread lightly on those topics and stuff because people would just be, easily to dismiss us as, the rich farmer, they got a brand new pickup, whatever.
Yep.
But they don't understand what it's like and I still don't understand what it's like, but I've seen my dad say a quick prayer before he has to immediately sign a loan and, be locked into ridiculous interest rates because agriculture is such a high risk financial category.
That's why they always say you have to have a good relationship with your banker. That's what my dad always said. He goes, it's one of the most important relationships you'll have is with the bank and your local community or whoever you're working with. But
Absolutely.
because there's times you can't pay back your loan and you can't, and you're like, you just have to have them kind of ride the wave with you.
We've been put in special assets. And if
Yeah.
anyone's experienced special assets, they literally make your life a living hell. And, you're at the mercy of whoever is saying, okay, you can get an extension because we just can't make that payment. And, the thought of watching your parents' entire dreams and all the work and the blood, sweat, and tears they put into some land that could easily just be ripped away. It's a pretty, belittling feeling.
I mean, not to go down this road, but you're only 22, but watching that from even a young age, kind of talk about that. Talk about the things that it's taught you and kind of how it's made you evolve as a person at a quicker and faster pace. I think it makes you grow up and realize things differently in life.
Well, first of all, when I went to college, I feel like I understood a lot of my classes a lot better than most of my peers. I'm looking around, they're talking about concepts and I'm like, that's applicable to me because I understand like how I would use that in our business model. But I'm looking around like, do other kids have this kind of perspective or are they just learning vocab and going through the motions? Whereas I had something to apply it to. And it's because my dad included me in a lot of those business meetings. I was 17 when we were put into special assets. COVID, we had to, get refinanced. And that was a lot of stress. My mom had taken off and then because she like decided to do a divorce, we finally found a loan and it was at 8.5% interest on a $7.5 million loan. And because of a divorce and being put into separations of assets and higher risk, it went to 12.5% interest. And we had to carry that loan for like a year or so. And that's a ridiculous, like on a $7.5 million loan, that's a ridiculous amount of interest. But that's all that we could find at the time, just because there was 3 years of heavy market loss, not even due to our own fault. We were growing beautiful fruit. It was just terrible market conditions. And we had to take the brunt of that. But I was sitting in there and learning about how, you take a mom and pop shop type of business and, you're scaling yourself. My parents went from 20 acres to over 400. And, there's 3 people doing the job that my mom was doing now and taking all of the records and trying to put our financials together and make projections and, just putting any sort of portfolio together for a banker. I learned a lot from it. And I'm thankful for that experience, but it was pretty heartbreaking times, but there's a reason why my younger brother, my dad and I are so close.
Yeah, I would say most definitely. How important is it to have a supportive male figure like that, especially for women if they want to be in farming in whatever regard? Actually, any career. I don't want to limit it just to farming, but it's important to have a male figure really support a female in their dreams. Wouldn't you say?
1,000%. Like my dad's always like had like he's always been a mentor to, us as kids, but also my older siblings, their friends, anyone he would always have like young kids working on the farm and be able to give, lots of advice. And he always approached mentoring me because I was always in these like male dominated spaces. Like I love diesels. I love, shooting guns, things like that. And, there's a lot of dudes in those spaces. And he's like, don't show up there and try to just, be another guy. Like you're a girl and there's differences to that and you need to like embrace it. Like he would always tell me, there's an effect that a woman can have on a room full of men and it doesn't have to be like hypersexualized. It's just like there's a certain energy that women can bring and you can use that to your advantage of like, you got a room full of testosterone. Okay, let's bring it down. Let's like, use some common sense here or whatever. And my dad like always giving me positive reinforcement of like and reassurance like you got this, you're gonna go in there, this is what it's gonna be like, you're gonna put your shoulders back, put your chin up, project your voice. He's like there's gonna be a lot of old farmers that can't hear very well, so don't shrink down, project your voice. And so now I take that and anytime I'm around like a bunch of guys, especially in ag, that, they have kids, and, they're from their mid 40s to mid 60s. And I like to tell them, you're the most important relationship, especially to your daughter. It's going to define how you pick how she picks her spouse, how she sees herself, things like that. And I'm saying that from my own experience.
Hey, we are digging in here on the Dirt Diaries. I mean, that's some wise words of wisdom right there, but it's so important. I mean, we like to call it what, daddy issues, but that's the thing. I mean, that's also a crippling term, and people don't want to have that. And I just love that you mentioned just that is the most important relationship, because that will carry them into a boardroom with confidence, into a relationship with confidence, into parenting with I mean, just anything. And it's so valuable to learn that.
And there's like, it doesn't always have to be a biological dad, right?
No, just a male figure that's informative and encouraging and important and loving and compassionate.
And I have several male mentors, and I really appreciate them. And I feel kind of bad because in today's society, it's like almost they feel like they can't compliment a young woman, especially without it being viewed in a certain way that they don't want it to be viewed as. And so it's like they almost don't want to say anything. But I would encourage like men to just give those compliments, and women learn how to graciously take compliments and positive reinforcement, because we need to create a culture of like actual verbalizing those affirmations. And I think it does tie back into the mental health stuff, like pump each other up. Like, we're all men and women in this industry. We need to keep, like, we already got the world against us. We need to be for each other.
Yeah. Hey, we're already fighting too many battles. Let's not take this one on too. Exactly. We don't want that. Well, okay, not to switch gears and make it a little more lighthearted, but I will. Another fun game we have for you. This one's called Apple of My Eye. So just some quick fire questions, just obviously about, personal apple truths. So just yours. Okay. Your favorite apple variety?
Oh, I think for like just right off the tree, sugar bee apple. And then for like pairing or baking, I'd say Cosmic Crisp.
When you say pairing, like pairing with a glass of wine, or just that's pairing with anything else?
Yeah,
my girl right there.
Glass of Merlot, some sharp cheese, like Cougar Gold cheese, since Cosmic Crisp is WSU apple. You got WSU cheese, and it's pretty epic.
That sounds delicious. I love that. Well, then apple pie or apple crisp?
Ooh. I think apple crisp, actually.
Yeah, yum. Picking or pruning?
Picking.
I like the thought, though. You got to give that one some thought. Best snack, apple with peanut butter or caramel dip?
Peanut butter, actually.
Yum, I love peanut butter. And then weirdest apple recipe that you've had, tried, make, or secretly love?
I think just the combination of like applesauce with pork. It's just like people don't really realize that is just so good. It's like my favorite.
Do you just put the applesauce on the pork?
Like a slow cooked pork roast, just some applesauce on the side. So good.
I'm gonna have to try that.
You should. Highly recommend.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like the savory and the sweet together, just nice.
A little acidity. Oh yeah.
Interesting. Okay. This is called bushel or bust. So bushel stands for true or yes, and bust is nope, not for you. So just some more questions. Okay. And this applies to you, but I'll say it like this. I've eaten an apple straight off the tree before 8 a.m.
Oh, bushel.
Yeah, I was like, you definitely have, right? And I could say you've cried over a frost warning.
I've groaned. I haven't been brought to tears, but I'm like, it's gonna be a late night.
You're like, why? You've named a piece of farm equipment.
A bushel.
Okay. You've taken a conference call while in an orchard.
Busheling most of the time, actually.
You've judged someone else's apple choices at the grocery store.
No, for real. Actually, bushel.
Bushel. Maybe that should be our theme song for this.
I'm in grocery stores handing out samples of like newer varieties that we're growing, and I watch someone like go over and they're like, they picked like either the condition of the apple. I'm like, why would you pick that one? Or just the variety.
Wait, okay, wait. What should we be picking when we are picking conditions about? Or what do we need to be looking for when we're in the grocery store? Now I'm judging myself.
Well, I mean, I don't want to like tell people that they need to be picking the perfect apple, because if there's a cut or something in it, like just eat that apple quicker, or like cut away
Okay.
that blemish spot. But there's some that are obviously like starting to mold, or like having like soft scalds kind of mushiness to them, or they're just like a red delicious where I'm like, you're not going to get the best eating experience from that. So I would say like you're wanting to look at the stem and the stem bowl, make sure there's not splits in there. If there's
I never
splits,
knew this.
yeah.
Wow.
The splits are just going to make the fruit decay quicker. So if you're going for longevity, but if you're just going into the store, I would urge consumers to say, all right, I'm going into the store today. I'm going to pick a piece of fruit that's probably going to go bad quicker, so I can take one for the team and eat that piece of fruit so it doesn't go to waste, kind of thing.
Is it the same way with pears as well, kind of? Or
Pears, you're going to want to check around the neck, because if it gives into a little bit of pressure, then that's close to ripe. Pears ripen from the inside out, so it'll be ripest next to the core, and then it'll finally show indication of that ripeness by changing color or being soft on the outside. So you want to check up towards the neck.
that's good to know. I mean, I try to mimic the green goddess smoothie that I saw on Instagram,
Yes.
and you use pears in that. And I
Oh.
mean, I'm sure with the smoothie it might be different. I don't know, but
Okay, we need people to eat pears this year. It's going to be a monster crop.
tell me why. Go on, talk about that. I'm
So
like, why? I want to know. That's interesting.
last year around February, when our buds are starting to pop out or whatever, we got like negative 18 degrees coming through, and so it zapped a lot of our pears and any of our soft fruit. Apples were decently all right, but it was just like a bad year. And so we went from picking 2,000 bins of Bosque last year to maybe 300.
Oh,
And that's just a variety of pear. And then so tree fruit is biennial bearing. So if one year you have a light crop, then the next year is going to be a heavier crop. So that's why we go through and prune. We try to like create an equilibrium, but there's sometimes certain weather events that happen. But this year we had, I think it's like the biggest pear bloom I've seen.
interesting.
Yeah. And it was like ideal pollination weather. So the bees were like active.
I was like, your bees. We use the bees for almonds too, and then we usually send them north. I think, yeah, because we send them north after you probably, what time of year do you guys put bees out? May, June, July?
No, it's like mid-April through.
Okay.
We just pulled our bees.
So we're right up. Maybe you guys ship them down to us, so I could have that backwards.
Well, I know that there's like less bees this year, and I heard that sometimes like almond growers are having to pay like $300 a hive.
That's besides water bill, we don't have hours for this podcast to talk about water rights or issues right now. But our
Wow.
bee bill is our highest bill. It's a killer. Literally, a killer bee.
That's just because of like the timing, because
I think trucking, timing, and again, the bee population is decreasing. It's a problem. My dad always said, he's like, I wish one of you girls were a bee farmer, and we're like, none of us were interested in that. What?
Like, I don't
I'm
like
like,
not
no.
getting the bee suits.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. There you go. Okay. Well, we still have some more time on this, but just to get you to know you a little bit better outside of obviously farming, we're just going to break the ice. And I know we could have done this on the front end, but we're going to do it on the back end. What is a habit that you have that would surprise maybe some of your social media followers?
I've never thought about this.
I know the Dirt Diaries team tried asking each other this question last night. We're like, we actually don't know either. But we're going to keep asking our guests.
I think when you put your whole life on social media.
Yeah, you kind of think, hey, they're just your habits are there.
I have no problem. Like, I will go out, like my peace and quiet is going fishing. And I have no problem. Like, I will go out there and I will fish for hours. And if I don't catch anything, I'm like, that's completely fine. But I guess like that's just something that I'm experiencing lately.
Hey, that's actually a good habit though, to be able to do a hobby. And yeah, you got one. Let's hear it.
Okay. I do wear socks to bed. I always start out with socks, but then
You're one of those.
they're always off because I have poor circulation.
Oh,
And
so they're compression socks or?
no, there's regular socks, but I have to start out with socks, keep my toesies warm, and then like by the time I'm like actually falling asleep, they are somehow off. Like my body just does it automatically. Like I wake up and they're my socks.
You shuck the socks, you get rid of them.
Yeah.
That is an interesting habit. I'm not going to lie to you. I know we just became friends, but that's an interesting one. What's a guilty pleasure of yours?
My favorite, like I do this. I've done this since I was like in high school, but I will make like homemade popcorn, not like from the microwave bag, but I'll make homemade popcorn with real butter and stuff. And
Ooh.
then I take Doritos Dynamite, which are like the green bag of Doritos, really spicy ones, and I put them in my little Ninja blender, grind them up, and then I add it to the popcorn. And it's like so good.
Did someone do that for you, or did
This is that I should.
you're like, that's how the brain works? That's how it works.
Yeah. No, and it's so good because it's like you got the chili, lime. Like, grow up on an orchard, you have a lot of like Hispanic culture, so I can handle spice all right. And so sometimes I get cravings, like intense cravings for something spicy. But I love popcorn, especially watching a movie. And so,
Did you ever just think to maybe buy some chili lime seasoning?
no, it's not the same because I and I used to do this with Takis, and then I decided like Takis are just like not the right flavor, and so I choose the Doritos Dynamite.
My younger sister's a big Taki person. She loves Takis.
We'll have her grind them up and put them over popcorn.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell her to try that. What is a condiment that you use in excess?
What?
That you use in excess, like one that you might put on anything and everything, whether it's ranch or ketchup or something weird.
This is like the most
Doritos, it sounds like. No.
Yeah, this is like the most un-American part of me, I think, is that I like will get a salad with no dressing.
Okay, we have one of our co-producers of Dirt Diaries. She doesn't do salad dressing either.
Yeah, I just like to taste the freshness of the salad. But of course, I'm in Washington State, so we get good fresh produce, all right?
You do. You have great fresh produce, so it makes a difference.
Yeah, I think it's like it's definitely like a more of a Midwest thing to like smother everything in ranch because you're getting lower quality products. But
I agree with that. Hey, when I moved to Texas, grocery shopping for me, because I came from California, it's challenging, so hard. Everything shipped in from Mexico.
I do love anything dill pickle flavored.
Okay, dill pickle flavor. Okay. If you could participate on one reality TV series, which one would you pick? So whether that's like a Bachelor, Survivor, Amazing Race, Fear Factor, Real Housewives of wherever, American Idol.
It'd be funny to go on Real Housewives. I don't know. Farmer Wants a Wife is always interesting to me, but I want a show that's Farmer Wants a Husband, because as a farm girl, I can't date another farm guy unless he lives in my county.
I just like looked around the room. I'm like, wait, should RFD start Farmer?
Please do.
FarmHer Wants a Husband.
Did you guys hear about did you see my dating application video?
No, I'm going to need to watch that. Your dating application video?
My buddy Tucker Brown put out a video, and it's me talking about like my ideal date and my ideal guy, and like they can fill out a Google form. There's over 900 applications.
Have you went through them? Wait, let's dig into this. Have you looked at any of those applications?
A few of them just for giggles and stuff, but I haven't taken it too seriously. I got overwhelmed.
I think you should go on one of those dates. And then you're going to come back and we're going to dissect these dates. It would be great.
I know. I'm tempted to, but then I also don't want to open that can of worms.
No, give it a month. Then open those can of worms. It'll be fun.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that.
I love that. If you could only watch one movie for the rest of your life, what movie would that be?
I love old movies. I only watch like the same circulation of like 10 movies because I like new movies stress me out because I don't know how they're gonna go.
You're like, so I stick to what I know anyways.
I just put on feel good movies. I would say it's a tie between, okay, hear me out, Pretty Woman. All right. I know
that's Classic. It's
scandalous
good.
movie, but it's so good. I love Julia Roberts. And Smokey and the Bandit, and then Quigley Down Under.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Three different.
Dirty Dancing.
So usually we like to end Dirt Diaries. Obviously, we all had a diary at one point, or we knew somebody with a diary or a journal entry, if you will, that we've wrote in our diary. Where you're at in life now, if you were to write a diary entry from the past or to your, that you'd write right now and read it in the future, or if there's something you would have wanted to read now that you wrote, in the past, what would it say? What would it be?
Like writing to my future self?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't really explain that well. But yeah, if there's a diary entry that you could put in and writing to your future self to know, what would it say? What would you want it to read?
All right. Kait, I hope you're still working for yourself and have not given up on your dreams and have scaled one of your many businesses to the level that you want it to be. I hope you have found or have not settled for a guy who doesn't treat you like the absolute best you deserve. That would make your dad happy. And are not letting boys take up too much brain clutter. And I hope you're riding horses more, because Sheena's being neglected right now. So that's my not so deep, but deep enough journal entry.
It's dirty enough. It's perfect. It's dirty enough for the Dirt Diaries. Well, thank you so much. For any of our listeners, how can they follow you? Where should they follow you? Give them all the deets.
You can find me Apple Girl Kait on TikTok and Instagram. Kait is spelled K-I-T. And then also connect with me on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. So and it's Caitlin Thornton, K-I-T-L-Y-N.
Okay, I love that. We'll put that down in our show notes for sure. Well, again, thank you so much. I know we were so excited. We slid right on into your DMs. And we're very excited that you were able to join us. I feel like we're going to have a follow-up, because hopefully we can encourage you to go on some of these dates. And then we'll really have some dirt to dish out here. It'll be great.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. That was great. I really think you need to go on some of these dates. That's it for today's episode of Dirt Diaries, where the women of ag leave no story untold. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone else. Until next time, keep showing up, speaking out, and getting your hands dirty.